All right, explanation for the last chapter, chapter 16. What is meant by the term market failure? Well, the big thing that we've seen in this chapter is this idea that the free market does not necessarily always achieve the optimal situation. And what we referred to as the optimal situation is a situation where we have the buzzword we're looking for as allocative efficiency. So that allocative efficiency has not been achieved is true, and we'll see different reasons why this may be the case. Market failure situations could be due to externalities, lack of provision of public goods, and other examples. That the free market has failed to achieve desirable social goals. Well, here we're not necessarily focusing on specific social goals in question. We're talking about allocative efficiency. It's a little bit more general. That one or more markets are not in equilibrium. Free market equilibrium is an equilibrium. It's just not allocatively efficient if we're in the presence of market failure. That a smaller group in society is affected. That doesn't need to be the case. And the market economy is in the failure. It's not true either. If a firm produces a good and its consumption generates external benefits, so having a sprinkler system, a good fire prevention system, having a beautiful yard, taking vaccination, and other things like that, it leads to external benefits because it helps other people out, even though you're just thinking about yourself when you only make that decision to have a sprinkler system. Then at the competitive market equilibrium, what we'd want to do is we want to promote the use of these products that generate external benefits, and that where the free market typically underproduces these goods because it doesn't take into account the benefits to other people outside of this transaction. So something along those lines would be the right answer. The marginal social benefit is less than the marginal cost of producing the last unit. That's not true. At the free market equilibrium or the competitive market equilibrium, that social benefit is greater than the marginal cost. The output would be more than socially optimal amount. No, it's false. We want to increase the output level. If this was a negative externality, that would be true. The firm will not produce an additional unit if it can internalize the external benefits. That's false. If we can internalize, it will make the benefits greater and it would produce more. The marginal private benefit is greater than the marginal cost of production of the last unit. That is false. The private benefit is not greater. It's the social benefit that is greater. The government could subsidize the production of its good to improve efficiency is true. If we're in the presence of a positive externality, we should subsidize to improve efficiency. If we're in the presence of negative externality, we should impose a tax or quota or something else to minimize output level to improve efficiency. When we talked about public goods, there's two big definitions associated with the public goods. There's the idea that of rivalry and excludability. Excludability was that a pure public good should not be excludable, that we can't prevent someone else from accessing it, like radio waves could be seen as non-excludable, or a lighthouse is non-excludable. You cannot exclude someone else from seeing the light of the lighthouse. But newer technologies that you have to pay for a subscription of things that are not visible unless you have the technology in place could be seen as excludable. Rivalry is that me using this product does not prevent someone else from using this product. So an empty toll highway, while a highway has rivalry, if there's a lot of cars and it's being very congested and it limits the amount of cars that could get on, one more car may remove some of the options for you, but still you still have access to the highway, so it's not really rivalry. But here we're saying empty, so this would not be an example of rivalry. A visit to the dentist, well, if you're with the dentist for half an hour, you are limiting someone else's availability of seeing this same distance. So you're limiting the options to someone else. You're taking that away, and that is rivalry. On crowded beach, it's the same idea as the empty highway. If you go, it doesn't stop someone else from going as well. The weather forecast, well, that's if it's promoted If someone looks at it, doesn't prevent someone else from looking at the weather forecast. Toxic emissions from a factory smokestack. Well, if someone suffers from it, it doesn't prevent someone else from suffering as well. So that is all non-rival risks except the visit to the dentist. A homeowner decides to buy 3 large dogs that sleep outdoors and howl at the moon. Externality associated with this decision is what? So externalities are things outside the benefits and the costs to this homeowner and the seller who took part in this transaction. So the veterinary cost of keeping the dogs healthy is one of the costs associated with the homeowner that he should expect, and that naturally occurs. That's not it. The increased work for the homeowner and guard cleanup is also something that he should expect, and it's his own costs. The cost of purchasing the dogs as well. The neighbor's lost sleep is not something that he necessarily takes into account. So this would be an answer. The homeowner's lost sleep, well, that he made the decision, he's taking that into account. All right, so diagrams like these can be tricky if you look at everything at once. So let's just look at what they're saying. Refer to figure 16.1. Suppose that in a perfectly competitive market with no government intervention achieves equilibrium at point A. So point A, MCO, MBO is that situation where we don't have any positive or negative externalities. That's our baseline. If the marginal social costs and marginal social benefits are represented by MC2 and MB0, so regardless of how this happens, this is where we should be, this point B, because of this lower cost. Well, this is the situation that we should be in. C, while what is going on with this quantity that the free market produces versus what we should actually be producing, well, we're not producing enough. We should be producing more if the actual costs of society are less. So we looked at it from a benefit standpoint or a positive cost standpoint. You could look at from different aspects, but in this case here, we should be producing more. So the competitive equilibrium quantity is too small, not too high. Not enough information, that's false. Consistent, that is false. We're not producing the right amount. It's too low for allocative efficiency. So those were the answers to this final chapter, chapter 16. Hopefully all of it is clear and you are ready for the final exam. Thanks.